Good evening, everyone. I'd like to invite you all to take your seats so we can get started here. All right, my name is Jasper Dent. I'm the event coordinator here at McNally Robinson Booksellers, Saskatoon. This event is being held on Treaty 6 territory. This is the land of the Cree, Dene, Soto, Dakota, Nakota, Lakota, and homeland of the Métis. It's my pleasure to welcome you to the Saskatoon launch of the Barber's collection by Robin Speer. We're so thrilled to have Robin joining us tonight, and thank you so much for working with us to create this event, to make this happen. I have a few housekeeping notes before we begin. First of all, this event is being live streamed, so there's a web camera up to your right here. We will not be filming the audience. However, if your phone goes off during the event, the camera will pick that up. So to save yourself the embarrassment, I suggest just check, make sure it's turned off or silenced. If you'd like to buy a copy of the Barber's collection, which we sincerely hope you do, we've got copies on the desk by where you came in, and we've got more up on the signing table here. And that's everything, actually. So without further ado, I would like to give you a quick introduction for our author tonight, Robin Speer, also known by his authorial pseudonym R. Conrad Speer. Which do you prefer, Robin?
Robin, it's all good. Michelle likes Rob.
Rob? Okay. Rob is a Saskatchewan-based writer, known for his collection St. Lazarus Day and Other Stories, which was published by Atmosphere Press in 2020. He's got a postgraduate certificate in creative writing from the University of Edinburgh, and he drew inspiration for this new novel from his past experiences working on the grounds of a vast rural psychiatric hospital. So without further ado, everyone, please give him a very warm welcome.
Thanks so much, Jasper. And thanks to the great gem of a bookstore in Saskatoon that we have, McNally Robinson. It's very exciting being here tonight. As Jasper mentioned, my first book, St. Lazarus Day and Other Stories, was released in April 2020 when we were all at home. So I couldn't do a reading, couldn't do signings, couldn't do any events whatsoever. So this event tonight is doubly exciting in that it makes up for that. As well, this novel I've been writing since 2012. It was just I'm very slow and inefficient. As Jasper alludes to, yeah, I'm from North Battleford. That might be the inspiration of the vast rural psychiatric hospital that we have there. The old building from 1911 housed over 2,000 patients at the end of World War II, and was used right up until 2018, 2019, when it was demoed and patients were moved across the street where the old golf course was set, adjacent to the hospital, to the new Saskatchewan hospital. So just loosely based on stories from that time. So tragicomic novel. Thanks everybody for coming tonight. This is my first reading ever, so that's very exciting and scary as well. Jasper and I discussed this earlier. Predetermined that I'd read the last 60 pages of the novel. So we'll be wrapped up by 9:30, something like that tonight. So if everyone can get comfy. Is that what we're gonna do?
Absolutely not.
No, I guess not. No, we'll shoot for less than 10 minutes rather than 2+ hours. Also, we looked at different sections that I might read, but we thought the beginning of the book is sort of a gentle preface intro to the novel, and the section that's the least off-putting to the greatest number of people. So we'll kick that up there. So I'll read the first few pages. I hope you enjoy that. I hope you'll grab a copy and read it. And after the reading, do we want to have a discussion, or how do you want that to flow, Jasper?
I think we'll open it up to audience questions. So start thinking of questions now, things you'd like to know about the book or about Robin's writing process.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's great. Jason just walked in. Jason, you got a softball. Kim's got some softballs for me, so that'll be just great. Um, I should cite as well, the original art for the novel here, the horse on the front with the Barber's classic pole, the helix, an original vintage spine, Barber's pole on the spine, and the building, the facade on the back was all done by a great local artist. My good friend who's here tonight, Jim Bentz, did all the original art. Looks fantastic. He worked with the publisher's graphic design team and really hit it out of the park. And I'm very fussy. I'm very nitpicky. And this is an outstanding product. So thanks to Jim from Saskatoon for the collaborative effort as well. So the beginning of the book is the title character, the barber. He's just heading out of town, going to golf on a golf course that's set on the grounds of a rural psychiatric hospital. Some quick trims and a few major cuts, Cal thought, as he turned the ignition, starting and revving the engine of his prized pastel blue Buick Electra. He inched out of the driveway, proceeding with caution, until passing the overgrown periwinkle hydrangeas, obstructing his view of the sidewalk and street. But first, the clubs. If he was asked to take a sort of official position on Mondays, or at least his Mondays, seasonal Mondays, the Monday of today, it would be long after the sun-up cockcrow was when the sublime summer day began in town, when some perceptible bustling with commerce was underway on Main Street in a kind of formal sense. Well, it might be even later. It was certainly no sooner than that, when Cal could get to his essential business of opening the shop and providing those vital services to any placid gentleman in need. However, before the general grogginess could shake itself loose, for that requisite sobering up to take hold, another key matter of leisure would have to be attended to first, notwithstanding the kiln levels of smothering heat already settling in the early morning atmosphere. In the final moments preceding the punctual rising of the sun, he exited the small town proper, carrying such an excitement about him, it was causing a mild daze in his head with an almost bit of a blur in his sight. Driving down the steep grade of the big hill parallel the river, Cal soon discovered the thick smog, originating in part from the raging forest fires in the north, the smoke conspiring with patches of dense fog hovering over the water, was blunting the typical first bright pink colors in the sky, turning the eastern horizon into a dusty mauve. He approached the oxidized steel bridge towards the bottom of the hill, a horizontal derrick-looking span to the southwest and perpendicular to his current pockmarked road, which crossed the channel to a little island, before the second section of the bridge put the driver in another town altogether. Nearing the distorted yield sign posted at the entrance to give bridge traffic heading northeasterly the right-of-way, Cal eased his foot off the gas, slowing it down enough to ensure he would not get T-boned by any errant oncoming traffic originating in haste from the neighboring town, otherwise still sound asleep across the murky river. Continuing the standard drive straight ahead, crawling forward to pass by the fading yield sign, Cal saw a police car at the other end of the bridge, stopped on the island, lights flashing away as if a glittering mirror ball at dawn. He rolled through the intersection at a slow enough pace to see the active police car parked diagonally across the road. The cop was positioned as if to halt traffic going to or coming from either direction, for what he assumed was some minor accident, the likelihood of someone having hit a white-tailed or mule deer or some such other common enough disturbance during the night. Although being so close to the institution, you sure can't discount that, Cal thought, methodically considering the proximity, measuring out the distance in his head, giving the area a brief scan as if to confirm his quick calculations. There's been so much mad commotion out here as of late and all. Could be anything of the sorts. Nothing would surprise me, not anymore. It can't. Cal's mind was wandering back to the hospital and its patients, returning to those thoughts from when he rolled out of his messy bed not quite an hour ago, the police car having refocused his concentration on what sort of absurd tumult he might come across today. The same time, place, and excessive temperature of 7 days ago, the first few holes were quiet until the inevitable hubbub set in during his outing of last week. This weekly ritual, this activity, this golf. On the fourth hole, he saw a right naked and aged male patient attempting a surreptitious climb out of a crisp candy apple red parking lot dumpster, bringing along an unsent kite made of filthy garbage bags and broken twigs, and then running off at full speed by the side of the main road in some desperation, trying to create his own unlikely aeronautical breeze in the dead calm of the stagnant morning air. On hole number 6, he saw a rather pretty female patient, a young woman wearing the issued all-white outfit, smiling in an apparent nirvana-like bliss while sitting cross-legged in a bed of marigolds, giving the pleasant flowers a joyous sniff while uprooting and proceeding to eat them, nibbling like a rabid bunny, from the dazzling orange petals right through the green leaves and stem to the dirt and worm-covered earthy roots. And on hole number lucky 7, he saw a most familiar face, the man wearing his woolly parka and winter boots in the 100-degree heat, thus also sporting an inherent profound stench about him, while in a frantic search for some trivial treasure on a festive, if repetitive, date of absolute and fantastical fiction. The butterfly police were successful in nabbing all 3 of those ornery patients last week, as harmless as each of them was in reality, these ostensive offenders, on the lam, even if still on the grounds, and not more than 50 feet away. I haven't seen Mr. Sanders yet this summer, roaming around, looking for his tasty chickens to spice up, nor Johnny Johan keeping up his phony post-war shtick of innocence. Cal continued contemplating on which of the regular gems of patience he might encounter wandering about the grounds today, and the possibility of those new guests he could welcome to the asylum and the town in his own unique way. Come to think of it, I haven't seen Yuri either, nor Leon, nor a bunch of those hordes of other bastards. Although I suppose if anyone is locked down and drugged up real good these days, it's those guys, considering everything going on. Brutal crimes, pathetic conditions, the need for more guinea pigs to test hopeful new methods on. But unless he kicked the bucket in the last week, I'll see the skunk for sure. After that, it's a bit of a crapshoot, I guess. Gathering the Buick's speed back up and returning his attention in front of him, Cal carried on, driving on what became a windy little road snaking along the river. A thick canopy of foliage transformed the curvy path into a verdant tunnel, with only wisps of sunlight poking through the lime green elms above and down to his windshield, creating disorienting patterns of flashing light as he cruised ahead on the incongruent asphalt beneath. For another mile, he began climbing and coiling up a second hill, a lesser incline which led right onto the resplendent grounds of his tranquil destination. A well-known and long-time resident patient sat on the side of the road about halfway up from the bridge, patching up his little stone wall with a sloppy pail of mud, maintaining an original section he built there decades earlier. The driver gave the busy bee a polite wave and an approving nod, to no response from the journeyman mason, as if Cal were a mere dragonfly that had flown past him. After a final stop at the center of the grounds, to ensure no wayward residents were running about, out in front of the grand institution and next to the green on his final hole, he turned into the empty joint-use gravel parking lot right across from the tee box of his first hole, managing to park in a perfect spot under a cluster of thick ash trees, offering the sole respite of shade in the area for his already overheating vehicle. Barber golfs his rounds, chaos ensues, goes back to town, same, and on the farm, same, and some of it may or may not resolve itself at the end of that tragicomedy. I should say as well, this is set at the time of deinstitutionalization in the 1970s, when sort of change was happening in town, in farming, the institution, the treatment, looking at that sort of full spectrum. So that is the reading and the overview. Does that suffice, Jasper?
I think so, yeah.
Did I carry on with the next 60 pages?
Maybe we can see if anyone has questions first. Yeah, absolutely.
Hey Robin, I'm wondering because you appreciate the art, like the old kind of school art. Do you have any like old cinema you like to be inspired by, or yeah?
Yeah, that's a great question. I'm a giant book nerd. I'm a huge reader. I've got a lot of old literary fiction that I'm inspired by. I love the Southern Gothics. You know, a lot of that's been translated into film. Sometimes that doesn't work. Sometimes it does. So great question. I'm not a huge cinema guy. I'm a huge literary fiction guy. But yes, a lot of the older stuff inspires me for sure.
Right, anyone else got a question here? Absolutely.
Only softballs, Callan.
This is pretty easy. I'm wondering what is next. Are you working on anything new?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. I'm always writing. I'm always reading. I'm always writing. Um, to date myself, which is fine. My first summer at the University of Saskatchewan was 97. That was the summer that I worked at the Saskatchewan hospital. Um, and I've kind of been writing this in my head ever since then, physically starting in 2012. I've been a reader forever. I started writing in high school in advanced English in North Battleford, through college, through University of Edinburgh, postgrad. So I am writing, but to your point, my first book was a short story collection. This was originally short stories, and then I realized that the place and the setting and the characters were the same, and it was the same story. And so it took several years to sort of weave that together and expand that. Um, and yeah, I'm writing, but it's all short fiction. And yeah, so we'll see you in 12 years.
Okay, curveball.
Oh,
Sometimes the writing process has been called a splendid isolation. In your case, when you're writing, do you find that to be accurate? Do you find that to be something maybe not reflective of who you are?
yeah, no, it's an exciting and positive, exhilarating solitude. Absolutely. And that question's from another great Saskatchewan writer, a great Saskatchewan writer, Todd Devonshire, writer and great playwright here in Saskatoon, who was inspiring to me as well in my journey here. Um, yeah, absolutely. And I think, like it's the way that I write is I have three phases. I'm either writing, I'm jotting down little ideas. Robin and Todd had this discussion tonight in the Q&A. Or I'm editing, and editing is obviously that takes forever. And if I don't have the juices flowing, I'm reading, and I figured that out over many years to be disciplined. And when you want to write, when you want to jot down ideas, when you want to edit, you do it by yourself for sure. But you got to seize those opportunities in that solitude, in that isolation. So yeah, no, great question.
Do you have a favorite place to write? Do you have a favorite place to write?
Yeah, absolutely. I have a 120-year-old house in my hometown in North Battleford, and I've got a 130-year-old oak desk that I write at, and it's clean. Unlike my office desk, which colleagues here can attest to. I really love that. Adjacent the desk where I write is my bookshelf of literary fiction, where I've got 700 or 800 works of great literary fiction. And so you're looking at the spines of the books that inspired you, and ones that you haven't read that are kind of climbing your totem pole, what you're going to read next. And yeah, it's that desk with some music, and again, what are you in the zone for writing, editing, etc. So, yeah, that's a great question.
Hi, Megan. I'm just wondering, girl, even from when you were young to you're still young, but to your age now, what would you say was one of your favorite books, something that really grabbed your eagerness to want to write? What was the most interesting piece?
Um, Probably some of the, in high school and college, some of the really great short fiction. I really like the concise, economical. Like I've blown through the Hemingway complete short stories many times. Southern Gothics, Flannery O'Connor, William Faulkner, Eudora Welty, the short fiction of those writers. I couldn't believe, what sort of story some of these great writers could tell in 10 pages. Just distilling something down that was so profound, like a 500-page novel, 2.5 hour movie in 10, 15 pages. I couldn't believe it. And short fiction's difficult. There's poetry and there's novels. I love the short stuff. And yeah, probably that. Probably Faulkner, Hemingway, some of that Gothic stuff from the sort of mid-century.
Hey, Robin.
Hello.
So both of your books have been very great reads for me. I do have a question though. I know you were talking just about screenplays. So you have Leslie Zemeckis right now who's reading your book, and the wife of Robert Zemeckis, actor or producer and director. Have you thought in any way while you're writing that there's a possibility that these could become movies someday? Have you thought about writing in the form where it would be very easy to translate into a screenplay?
Yeah, that's a great question. Like I've not thought about that directly. I'm thinking about the literature, I'm thinking about the story and the narrative and something exciting and fun that I want to write that's original, that I hope people enjoy. Um, I think when you see really great works of fiction making that jump to that medium, it's always exciting, especially books that you don't think there's no way, like how could this conceivably be turned into a film? A lot of the Cormac McCarthy stuff would be an example of that. You read this amazing fiction and you think there's no way, and then somebody pulls off the road in movie form. So, yeah, that's a great point. Leslie Zemeckis is reading it right now. Eric McCormack is reading it right now. Um, uh, Mark Jonathan Harris actually has a review blurb on the first page of the book here. He's a 3-time Oscar winner. So, yeah, it's actually it is kind of making its way around, and I think the screenplay would write itself. That's how I saw in their books. So, I reluctantly accept, yeah, signing the option deal. So.
Me again? Hey, do you think papers and like online columns have lost the art of like originality because of limitations brought on by like the site or like the paper, like who they work for?
Yeah, I mean, I think the great thing with online though, like there's obviously AI and things like this are creeping up, and what's that going to do? I think in a sense though it democratizes it, in that anyone can do their own thing as original as they want to be. They'll have a platform. There might have been gatekeepers historically to do that, and I think anyone can kind of do that now. It's difficult because there's a wave of other stuff coming forward, but I think it's yeah, there's challenges, but it presents, I think, interesting opportunities as well. So this is my political non-answer for you.
A question on how do you write? Do you write longhand on legal, pad of paper, or do you write using a computer?
Laptop, yeah. It's just the editing process is writing and just tweaking and changing things. I've edited this a million times, even pre-final manuscript, working through the developmental and structural and copy edits with the publisher. Laptop, yeah. It's just again that it makes it easy. There's so much you could do. You could be incredibly productive. I do have very good friends who are writers who do, yeah, they maintain long hands. But not myself. Yeah. I struggle today to even when I physically have to write one sentence on it. So yeah, I'll sign three books for you tonight, and then I'm already cramped up. But no, good question.
It'll be like 15 years then.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly. Cool, thanks.
I actually have a question here.
Sure.
So you said that you worked at a hospital in the 90s, but you set this book in the 70s during deinstitutionalization.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering, was that a time period of interest for you already? How much research did you have to do for the setting, for, getting all of that information for this book?
That's a great question. It was a fascinating time period for me at the time. Going from 3,000 patients to 180 very rapidly, and what that would mean, and the policy discussions around that. And it's interesting coming full circle today in 2024, compared to what was happening in the institution in 1911. Terrible things in the middle, lobotomies and electroshock and all sorts of things there. And that's what led to that period. Just being in and around town and at the hospital, you hear these stories. You either see them as a primary source firsthand, or you hear these anecdotes, some legends from times past. And this is actually what I started writing when I started writing. Just thinking like, how could you chronicle those stories, but make them in a fun, accessible, fictitious way? So then certainly diving in and doing my homework and research on, the treatments and policy and the reality of that history here and elsewhere. But, to know just enough, but not enough that then you can twist and torque into fiction, which is what the novel is. So there's a lot of real stuff in here, but there's mystery too. So
So cool, thank you.
yeah.
Does anyone else have any last questions here before we move into signing?
Ivy, any questions?
How do I get on this chair?
Yeah. Success. Job, Ivy.
Okay, then I think we can probably get you some signed books. That seems like the logical next step.
That's great. Thanks, Jasper. Awesome.
Thank you.
Thanks everybody for coming. I really appreciate it.
Stop on here again to say that you're welcome to get your book signed before you buy it. Just please remember to stop by the cash desk.
And there was a global Moneris problem an hour ago, and I just, a couple of us went and had a beer and we solved it. So